What's up, everybody? It's Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode of Holistic and Spiritual AF. Thank you so much. If you are first time landing on this podcast, be sure to hit that follow and subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. We always talk about things pertaining to the mind, body, spirit integration here on this podcast. So anything to do with metaphysics, energy healing, ancestral wisdom, and all sorts of tools that'll help you in your day-to-day living so that you can begin to live inwardly, outwardly, okay? These podcast episodes air on the first and third Fridays of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have all sorts of amazing guests talking about a variety of things, so be sure to follow me or subscribe depending on the platform you're listening, as well as check out some of those past episodes, okay? And if you are coming back, welcome back, fam. I appreciate you guys so much. The podcast is growing in ways that you can't even imagine, and I know that's because of listeners like you, as well as the amazing podcast guests that I've been having on the show. But I could not do it without an amazing audience like you guys. So welcome back. Welcome back. Be sure to hit that like, that comment, that share. Go ahead and spread the love on this podcast. And yeah, if you know me, let me go ahead and get into the business. I hope everybody's been taking care of themselves, mind, body, spirit, because it's all about that. If either one of those things are out of balance, then we are out of balance, okay? And so I'm going to get into a little bit of business. I don't have a lot of business today about going on and what's happening in the holistic and spiritual AF community. And if you're impatient, be sure to just skip on over about 4 or 5 minutes and jump right into the podcast episode. I've got an amazing guest today, McKenna Burgess. You do not want to miss this episode, okay? And I'm not just saying it. I mean that there's so many gems, nuggets, and wisdom in there. You got to listen to this one all the way to the end. But first and foremost, if you are watching this, you can probably see at the bottom of the screen all the places you can find me, okay? Holistic and Spiritual AF, and that's and spelled out. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, Substack, Medium. If you like to read, I have articles, newsletters, blogs, self-reflections, and things like that. So be sure to check that out. I've actually got 1 day left of the 5 Stages of Shadow Work book, which we celebrated the 1 year anniversary this month, or in May, actually. I'm offering 25% off of that book on Amazon, so be sure to check it out. Description is going to have all this information, okay? So it'll have my information as well as my amazing guests' information and how to find us, how to reach out in other ways that are more applicable to you, and so you don't miss a thing. Something else new that's coming up is there'll be another class in July. So be sure to follow me because that's going to be coming up really soon. The last one was amazing. If you missed that one, it was actually, we maxed out at 100 folks and we had quite a decent crowd. So be sure to check that description out for all the goodness. All right, well, that's enough about me. So let me go ahead and jump into today's guest. Once again, my guest name today is McKenna Burgess. She is a tantric shamanic priestess, a certified sexologist, and a somatic practitioner. And we're going to be exploring how we can reconnect with our sacred bodies and remember who the fuck we are, okay? We talk Tantra beyond the buzzword, how to awaken divine feminine and masculine energies in balance, and why embodiment is the key to living in alignment. McKenna's going to be dropping gems on somatic healing, sacred sexuality, and how communication in our relationships become a mirror for our unhealed wounds and our deepest potential for growth. All right, so you definitely want to stick around all the way to the end. Some of the topics we're going to be covering in this episode are embodied Tantra as a spiritual path, feminine versus masculine energy and healing work, yoga as a tool for integration, somatic awareness and nervous system regulation, and conscious relationships and divine communication. Okay, so this is definitely going to be a juicy episode, grounded and full of the type of wisdom that's going to access that inner truth inside of you. So be sure to sit back, relax, get your cup of tea, and get ready for a loaded episode. So let's get into it.
So, thank you so much, McKenna, for agreeing to do this podcast with me. I know that my guests are going to be super excited to get into this juicy conversation today because you are doing some of the deeper, more sensual side of spirituality that brings about that deep healing. So, you're a tantrika, a shamanic priestess, certified sexologist, somatic practitioner, and a licensed massage therapist. So, I'm super excited to get into it with you. Here's my cat. She's bombing the video as usual, but we're going to let her do what she does. Just tell us a little bit about the journey, like how it all got started for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to connect and yeah, and just share my side of the world. Like you said, this healing era is upon us, but even that sensuality side of healing is still a little bit in that hush hush. So I'm excited to just get a conversation started about it. But yeah, originally my journey started about 8 years ago when I went into massage school. Um, Probably a little bit before then, I had gotten into yoga and I was starting to connect with myself, connecting with like my body in different ways, but really not um, connecting the mind, body, soul in unity quite yet. Kind of using yoga as like a physical aspect, and then massage became a physical aspect as well. But I started to notice that it was changing my mood and changing my energy going to massage school. And so I got really curious into just energetics in general, kind of after that. And it really has just been a continuous journey since then. About 3 years ago is when I really expanded into the Tantra realm. And that's just been a continuous, expansive journey in itself. But what I realized in that journey of finding Tantra is that I've really been doing it all these years. And I just finally had something to put the words to it, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
yes, totally. Well, I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, I love that, and I'd love to hear your journey from massage therapy because that's where mine started. And I just never even thought about the fact that how that got me into my healing journey and first myself. And a lot of similarities there when you talked about yoga. I was practicing yoga, and it started out as a physical thing, not really
Mm.
connecting the breath and the energy work and the connection to the body that it brings is kind of a subtle awareness, and then essentially it opens up things inside of you, and I love that. So I love the journey, and I love how you talked about tantra because my tantra journey started 10 years ago. I thought about that before we started doing this podcast episode, and I was like, hey, it's been 10 years this year. And I love how you described it as something that we're doing continuously. It's a way of life, and it's something that we have been doing, and now we're consciously doing it. So that's awesome. I love that. So you currently you're certified in a lot of different things. Tell me some of the ways that you actually help the community with these practices and services.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, with my different modalities, they really all began because of my own healing journey. I needed them myself. And as I work with others, I realize, it doesn't just take one thing. But a lot of what I do is really helping others get back connected to the body. As we're moving in society, we are so prone to this hustle culture and just turning off our sensations so that we can get whatever it is done. And so I help others create a space within themselves of safety in the body. So often we really think about going and finding that safe space, if you will. I help others know that it's there at any time for you. You just have to create it for yourself, get connected back to the body. I help others really understand what their body has been trying to tell them for so long. Oftentimes, I hear, especially in massage work, like, oh, this pain has been there for years, and all of a sudden, in just a few sessions, it's gone. And just combining body work with more somatic and bringing in that mind work as well has allowed me to create a more flourish of healing for others. Definitely, like I said, massage was kind of that physical aspect at first. And through my somatic journey and my Tantra journey, actually able to combine both kind of that mind psychology side, if you will, with that physical aspect and allow those traumas that we've been deep holding be kind of come to the surface and have a safe space to be released. So really help others also create that safety for their healing journey. A lot of the times we see so many people start to step into the healing space and it starts going great, and then they meet some really hard aspects of themselves, and
Mhm.
Oftentimes you have people that just kind of turn away from the healing journey or just kind of quit to where it is or focus on something else. And I kind of help others guide themselves into safety so that they can face that extra hard stuff, those old traumas and triggers.
Awesome. I love it. And you hit on a lot of really great points. And I'm always saying that in every podcast episode, it's the mind, body, spirit integration. And that's why I have the guests that I have on because it's all interconnected. When one of those is out of balance, they're trying to tell us something in order for us to be back into alignment and balance. So I love the work that you're doing. And I love that you're able to incorporate in that type of healing work with massage therapy because I remember that for me too when I was massaging and people would always tell me your massages are different. There's something about your massages that are different. So to be able to have somebody like you out there doing the work, these people are really like lucky to have you because not every massage therapist is the same. Not knocking anybody who's good with body mechanics and stuff like that, but when you're able to integrate that mind, body, spirit integration into massage, that's like a much deeper level of healing. So awesome. I love that. And I love
Absolutely.
how you,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
love how
no,
you
thank
talk.
you. I want to acknowledge that, just that
Yeah,
level of extra healing that can come from the unity of it all. So yeah, no,
yes.
I love that.
Yeah, it's true because I used to have people that would tell me and I would watch them over time, the regulars that would come back and they would just start changing things in their life. They're like, "Oh, I went to yoga," or "Oh, I'm changing what I'm eating," or "I'm spending more time in nature." And it's like, "Okay, because we're doing so much when you're doing that. You're hitting meridian points, acupressure, all different types of things that are connected to holistic healing that was done
Absolutely.
centuries ago, and it's like Western world has kind of turned that into some sort of a luxury type thing, but it really
Yes.
is not. It's more than that.
Absolutely. It's a necessity. And yeah, no, I always emphasize it's called massage therapy.
Mhm.
You go in maybe for a physical aspect, but like you said, then you start hearing clients, oh, I'm starting to do this. Oh, I'm trying this. And you really notice that it is a full body engagement.
Yep. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So I want to go to Tantra because everybody wants to talk about Tantra, but there's a lot of confusion surrounding Tantra. And I could tell by the way that you started talking about Tantra in the beginning that you and I experienced the same kind of Tantra experience. So a lot of people just jump straight to sex and they're
Mm.
like, oh, it's Tantra, it's sex, I'm interested, but tell us what Tantra is to you and like tell us about how you understand Tantra.
Absolutely. And yes, what I help others do is kind of redefine that because immediately we often think of that sexual realm, that sensual realm. But to me, Tantra is a way of being. It's really a lifestyle that you take on, again, an embodiment. So, what I help others do is get back into the body, into the safety, and into embodiment. And with that Tantra side, we really start to talk a lot about that energetic alignment. And that comes with the masculine and the feminine. And so often, I do work mostly with men. And so you get that very kind of man feel when let's work with our feminine energy today. And it's immediate kind of restriction,
Mhm.
but ultimately, regardless of what we are embodying in this lifetime, we do have both energies within us. And so, really, a lot of it is finding that polarity and that balance within the self to live the most pleasurable, extraordinary life, if you will, and using the body to do so. So many spiritual paths and religions want you to escape your body to have that enlightenment. Tantra is all about being in your body. We have a lifetime in this beautiful vessel, so let's make it as pleasurable as possible. So, for me personally, Tantra is more of a lifestyle and using the body to access the most pleasurable, authentic way of being that you truly can.
I love it. That was a great description, and that's how I learned it as well. And then I also learned about raising the kundalini. So that, of course, is much, probably further down. At first, people would need to like get into their body, which everybody's so outside of it. And I liked how you talked about the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, and how we have both and how to balance those. And so, yeah, that's really dope. I love that. So, what are some types of tantric practices that you either do yourself or you either help your students with?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. When we're working in the Tantra realm, some of the core tantric principles are going to be breath, sound, movement, energy, and intention. So I would say the biggest one that I work with is breath work. As you mentioned, kind of when we're working in the Tantra realm, another big emphasis once we start is working with that Kundalini. And so some of the best way to move energy as well is breath, sound, and movement. So I would say one of the first things that I start with is breath work with clients and start giving them homework as breath work as well. And then using body scans. And so that could be as simple as just sitting and taking some deep breaths in, maybe doing some physical touch to sensate where you are. Just really getting into the body and using different tools in that sense to begin that journey as well.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah.
And definitely moving of energy is very important too, because we have to, like you said, get into the body, get into the energy body, recognize that sometimes there's a lot of stagnant energy that's just hanging out there, and then being able to have that ability to move energy so that it's continuously flowing is so, so crucial and important. I'm glad you brought that up. I love it, love it, love
Absolutely.
it. So we talk a lot about in Tantra balancing the masculine and feminine. Now, this may be kind of a hard question, but how can you describe like a balanced masculine and feminine energy?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're embodied and imbalanced in both, I would say that you have really great resiliency. So you're kind of able to bounce back from different maybe rejections in life or different steerings of off course. And you're doing so with kind of maybe not like positivity, like, okay, great, that just didn't work out for me, but with again that strength and resilience, you're kind of calm, collective, moving through it still. And I would say when you're really in knowing when you're looking around at your life. If you're kind of noticing that you're only drawn or only having maybe masculine energies in your life or only feminine energies, that can be a really great indicator of maybe what you're siding with, if you will, or embodying mostly, or where you're out of like alignment or embodiment in those ways. But it definitely just comes and goes. It's kind of hard to say exactly just because there's sometimes where you need to be in a little bit more embodiment of the feminine to guide you through whatever situation you may be in. And then maybe it's the masculine that needs to be embodied more. So I would say for me, it's really just a reflection of the balance in your life. If you're kind of noticing a lot of heaviness in one area, noticing maybe that yin factor is beginning to kind of take over. Maybe it's a lot of fire that you're feeling and more of that yang that you're kind of always in structure, you know? So definitely, yeah, a little bit of a hard question, but
Yeah,
it's a good way to see is really just looking around in your life. The deeper we connect with ourselves, the further we're able to connect with others as well as the world around us. And when we're in disconnection with ourselves, usually the world around us and our world outside of us is showing that reflection as well.
I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you. And that's what I was looking for was that word balance, because when those two are, that's the whole balance thing right there. But like you said, nobody's going to ever be completely balanced like all the time. And there's sometimes when one may be more prevalent than the other, for instance, depending on the type of work someone does, or if someone is maybe more on the nurturing, take care of the kids and the animals type of side, and that's their life and that's their job. So then they may be lacking a little maybe authority or decision making types of abilities as well. So yeah, and that's something I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, because I got that fire energy. I'm a Aries anyway, so I
Mm.
have to. I struggle with that, and people have told me they're like, you carry a lot of masculine energy, but you have a lot of feminine energy too. So I have to watch that sometimes because it's intimidating for people, and it's just like that's kind of the natural embodiment for me. But I do have that feminine side too, you know. So
Yeah, and just noticing those things, that's the beginning. Having those
yeah,
awarenesses, then you can have the adjustment to the balance. And even also what I work with others is like creating those aspects of yourself to bring into balance. Sometimes we just like don't have a very structured masculine that will take authority in us, you know? And I do something also that's called soul retrieval and parts work, if you will. And so sometimes in this line of work, it's also about creating these other energies that we need within us to balance us out.
I like that. Yeah, and I like
Mhm.
how you introduce the whole creative energy as well because that's part of it, you know. So I love it, love it, love it. Thank you for giving us a well balanced, you know, perspective on tantra and like what it is and what it isn't. So some people may be turned off by that, but that's okay. And some people will be like, hey, and I tell people that all the time, like, you know, this is way more than sex. You know, sex is just a small portion of this, you know. It's a journey and it's an amazing journey. Like you don't want to cheat yourself on that. For me, it has been,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I love that you mentioned like a cheat yourself on because
yeah.
my personal journey, I kind of was thrown in the mix and I did this 2 week long tantric experience. And yes, we had like sensual and sexual homework, but we were just in a very connective realm, just guided through different initiations, almost, if you
Hmm.
will, to get connected with the body. And I almost tell clients, like, I don't use the word cheap, but I do tell them you will almost be more successful and more abundant in your sensual sexual realm if you don't focus and fixate on that route. If using
Yes.
Tantra for that route, it will end up transferring into the bedroom and being that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me anyways, I won't speak on anybody else. That's an imbalance too. If it's like too much, everything is all sex, you know, there's an imbalance there. And the whole discovery process about the wholeness of me was like important. Tantra was amazing for me. And I did the same kind of experience as well. And I ended up getting initiated in level one. I didn't take it further than that, and then I ended up having a teacher after that, like, and I got to a certain point where he was like, "That's it, you know, no more coming asking questions, no more classes. You go live the life, you know."
Yeah,
And that's what
you
I've
just
been
walk
doing.
the embodiment.
You walk it, and then I was like,
Yep.
"Wow!" And I always think about that. You know, it's not something that you know you're gonna go to classes forever. You just end up becoming and being, and so that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. So I want to talk about somatic healing. Let's talk about somatic healing first and then how that actually transfers into relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we are talking about that mind body connection, so when we're bringing in these somatic therapies, we're using the body to get back in to calm the mind down and understand the thoughts and really be guided. And again, as I said earlier, I help others get connected with that communication of their body. And that's where a lot of these somatic practices come in. When we start to pinpoint what these feelings are, we can actually understand what these emotions tied to these sensations and these feelings are attached to them and begin to work with them and embody them a little bit more. As I mentioned earlier, I've had a couple clients that have been like, wow, this shoulder pain after just a couple of times of not just straight body work, it started to dissipate and disappear. And they've realized that it's been an energetic carry within their physical body. And so somatics is really getting into the body to pinpoint what that feeling is, if you will, and then beginning to kind of understand and work with it. And when we're using that, again, as I said earlier, the deeper we connect with ourselves, the further we're able to connect with others in the world around us. So when we're using these tools to kind of identify our feelings, emotions, and things like that, we're also able to recognize that in another that much easier. So I know from my personal somatics journey, Tantra was great. It helped me get into the body, but the somatics really allowed me to understand myself and understand the emotions and behind these sensations. And it's made me a completely more empathetic and sympathetic person. And as well as I used to be like overly empathetic and sympathetic. So I would take on people's traumas and things like that. Now, with my somatic tools, I'm able to be like, oh, I can feel where they are, whatever that person may be talking about in my own body, and hold space for that and hold space for them, but be able to differentiate it now. As before, I would just be like, oh, I feel this too. And oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain too with you. I understand you. Um, but I wasn't really understanding them. And sometimes it was great. That's what the person needed. And that was holding space in that way for them. But now I'm far more successful in this, in the ways that I hold space, if you will.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
sounds like you were, and probably still are, highly empathic, and you were just
absolutely.
absorbing everything, at that point, and now you're able to empathize, without taking it all on, and then actually push out the energy as well for them to hold space for them. So yeah, I mean
Absolutely.
that's a great, powerful way of looking at it. I tell people that all the time. Being empathic is not just about taking on everything. You would just be drained and exhausted everywhere all the time, but actually also being able to shift the energy in a room or shift the energy in a situation, and knowing when to turn it on and off. Like, so yeah, that's great. I love how you talked about that. And I love how when you talked about relationships, you talked about all sorts of relationships, not just intimate relationships, being able to get along with the others on the planet, and that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that leads to a much more fulfilled, peaceful, and happy life, and I love that, because I think a lot of times we think, oh, well, if I know myself, then I'll attract the right partner. But it's like, how are you getting along with other people? Are you in collision with everybody all the time? Or is it, do you have to have this partner to fill that space? And so, like you said, that somatic understanding your own feelings and
Mm.
not taking on others or perceiving, theirs as your own is amazing. So I love that. And I
Yeah, I
love
love
the
them. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was like, I love that
Okay.
you're doing this work.
Oh, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I love that you also brought up, like, we often think, oh, if I just raise my frequency, oh, if I do this, then this should come in. And yes, you will attract that in. But really, what somatics helped me do is keeping these relationships. I was one to also a ton of fire. We attract, it's great, and intimate or just friendships or whatever, and high vibrations, and then something happens and it's just clunk down the drain, the whatever, we split off, nothing works out, whatever. And now in these last 3 years in particularly, I've begun to foster true hearty relationships that are um yeah, sometimes I used to definitely just ditch people if they were not on my trend, if they were not on my train here.
Mhm.
And being in somatics has let me realize and be in my body and be okay with disagreement and no, and then be able to have healthy relations from that and be able to still get along from them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I love that it's not always just about frequency, it's about maintaining that communication after.
Yeah. And I think that what it boils down to is being at a certain level, being emotionally healed. That is huge. That's going to give a lot of peace of mind, peace, period. So, yeah, I love it, love it, love it. Let's talk about yoga. I often see you on Instagram doing your breathing and your stretching, and I'm like, look at her go. I love it. Tell me how yoga connects to sacred sexuality.
Yes, absolutely. So, as we were mentioning, the Kundalini, which is a large base of Tantra and what we work with, but we're working with that Kundalini. So, our Kundalini is our life force. It's also that sex energy, it's also our energy of creation. So, this energy that we came from and what we're producing from as well. So really yoga again, at first it was much more of a physical aspect. And then when I kind of found Kundalini yoga, it really embodied more of that energetic feel. And I was able to unite that mind, body, spirit a lot more. And then that physical, that vinyasa of just more stretch became even more spiritual, if you will, because I was able to connect the breath with it. But yeah, yoga really helped me get aligned into my body again to notice what is difference from my physical body to my energetic body and kind of noticing the differences of those and beginning to tap in. And yoga allowed me to notice kind of where some of my chakras were
Okay.
harboring space and harboring just old traumas, triggers, and what was holding me back. And it would be really weird. I would be like in a meditation or breath work in yoga, and then I'd get this download of like this very random traumatic thing that happened to me when I was younger. And it would just be like okay, let's just take mental note of that. And then I started journaling in after yoga and having those sessions and would just start to just go into deeper of what the experience that my body brought up through yoga and through that process. And so, yeah, yoga has helped me also just really hone in on what some of my traumas and triggers are.
Yes.
Sometimes we are in that reactive mode, and I'm like, that really just that just really set me off, like, and I just can't understand why. And then I'll be in yoga, and it'll be like, that was it. Oh,
Yeah.
and and you're doing this random pose, and your mind is concentrated on something else, and then all of a sudden you have like this deep inner message, and your whole body feels it. So like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is definitely my
Yeah.
body letting me know that on that more systematic side, I've created that safety now for it to be understood of what that trigger was. And so have that space for it to be released or at least just be known.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, my
Yeah.
cat's got the zoomies and she's being like extra loud. I was like, what in the world? She's
No
showing up.
worries.
Yeah, I saw yours. Yours is peaceful,
I
or maybe it's
know.
all that yoga you're doing.
I
Mine
took
is,
them on a long walk. That's why. Otherwise, yeah, no. This new puppy with the zoomies, I'm like,
yeah. So yeah, and I'm trying to be present, but like, whatever. Like now she's like silent, that's how she does. But
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
love how you talked about that. And the once again, yoga is amazing. That was like one of my starts in the beginning. I've always come back and forth to that. And then of course there's so many different types of yoga, you know, um, yoga nidra, kundalini yoga, vinyasa yoga, all types of yoga that we could tap into that pretty much does the same thing. And I like how you talked about sometimes you're doing some poses and then this thought comes up. And I don't know why I thought I was the only person that happened to, because I don't think we ever talk about that part in yoga
We
class.
really don't. It's very interesting. Like, we never talk about all the amazing messages and downloads. And
Yeah.
I think the somatic journey really helped me put that into it. I've been doing yoga for almost 10 years, but again, these last 3 years, I've been like, oh, now I have these tools that my body feels safe enough to tell me, like, oh, this is what happened earlier.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I love it. So, this has been an enlightening conversation. I knew that it would be. I want to touch on one thing before I let you go. I know that you're a certified sexologist. Talk to us about that and the type of work you do over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's really funny is that again, when I was taking that certification, I was just like, I'm doing all of this already. In a sense of it goes hand in hand with the somatic and the tantra work. It's really interesting. I will have people come to me and know that they're struggling within the sensual and sexual realm, so they don't really know who to see, so they seek out a tantrika, and then we end up using all my certified sexology. As I mentioned, I do inner parts work and soul retrieval. And so that's a lot of like what starts to come with that sexology work is you notice something in the body maybe, and that's what brings you to me, and then we end up diving deeper into the mind so that we can release in the body, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, so I work with, I would say on more of that certified sexologist side, a lot of it is like more people coming to me for performance issues or just not having pleasure. Like they're just like, it's not pleasurable anymore. They just don't have that connection with themselves.
Hmm.
And a lot of people think that we're just going to jump in and it's going to immediately be like, oh, touch yourself and things like that. And
Right.
we end up sometimes we don't do body work for like many sessions in because this their own body is not ready for that. And realizing that they're not ready to kind of they have to open up to themselves and give themselves permission before, even if we're working one-on-one in person, before I can do body work or even themselves. A lot of what I realize working with clients in these states is that we're more triggering and traumatizing to
Yes.
ourselves than
Mm.
we realize. We get really influenced by society and our friends, and oh, something worked for me, so you should try it. And then you end up doing that, and it ends up triggering and trauma more. A lot of people have had great success from Tantra and having that embodiment, and there's been some people that have been scarred from it.
Yes.
So it's about finding kind of the right balance of all of the tools. And some people, as I mentioned, I do a lot of breath work, lots of sound work as well. Um, some people I won't even relate it to Tantra because there is trauma behind that.
Hmm.
But we are still working within that Tantra realm. We're using those same principles, we're using and activating the Kundalini, but it's really just kind of depends and varies with everyone, just depending on what they may be desiring in their life. But for the most part, I would say people come because they're looking for more pleasure in life and they think that it's coming and needs to come from the bedroom. And then we kind of redefine what pleasure and
Yeah.
intimacy is altogether. And it's almost a domino effect. Once you can find pleasure here in just a single moment, then things begin to transfer over more and more moments in your daily life. And eventually, then hopefully, creating space where you can be in a more sensual, sexual, embodied realm. So many of us are kind of again desensitizing ourselves, and that
Hmm.
includes in the bedroom. And so I've been working with a few that are realizing like this hasn't been that all that pleasurable for a while now, and I'm ready to have things be pleasurable. And again, that means that yes, they're talking about in the bedroom and in those states and in those places of intimacy, but where we begin is getting safety in the body again
Yeah.
and using those somatic tools, using those tantric practices, and then kind of finding those, oh, this feeling is a trauma coming up, and this is something that I've been holding on to, and beginning to slowly dive deeper in that sense as well. So,
Awesome.
definitely with the certified sexology, I use my tantric and somatic tools often, and even on more of the shamanic side, those shamanic practices go hand in hand,
Yep.
and really using those tools to give others permission to get back into their body and come back into safety with themselves.
I love it. Yes, and that's what I figured too. I'm like, well, she's doing it anyway, so it only makes sense. And as with anything, it always comes back to healing. If somebody wants to manifest something, a lot of time there's some energetic blockages there. So we're going straight to healing, and we're going to try to get to the, like you said, we got to get to the root. And that's that whole mind, body, spirit connection. When you talk about shamanic healing, when we talk about what they were doing before the society that we live in today, they were treating the holistic person, and get into the root of the emotional, the trauma that triggers. And I think just even the awareness, of people not realizing how long it's been since you felt safe in your body. And a lot of times that goes back to childhood. They've been walking around like
Absolutely.
this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's shocking sometimes to realize some people will tell me they've never been that relaxed in their life. And, we just sat down and did a little bit of breathing work and nothing. For me, it doesn't seem like anything crazy or intense, but it's dramatic changes for them.
Mhm.
And yeah, on the shamanic side, going to the root is definitely key. And so many of this Western culture, our doctors are, here's a band-aid for the problem,
Mhm.
but we got to go find what's stemming this problem. Where is it coming from? And I really also encourage others, they become their own shaman when they're
Mhm.
working with me. And oftentimes in this Western culture, it's like almost a cringy feel to embody that. But I highly encourage the people that I work with to embody their shaman within them, because they are their own bridge. If no one's gonna be there to guide us, even with me helping and sharing tools, you are your own bridge taking you there. Only you can get yourself to
Yep.
what that place is. And so it's definitely something that I encourage others to begin to embody. And like I said, I work with creating aspects within our life, these energetic beings within us to kind of fall back on. And so um, inner shaman is what I work with often, so that people know that, you are your own medicine and you are your bridge to get yourself
Mhm.
there to wherever it is that you want.
I love it. Thank you
Mm.
so much, McKenna. This has been an amazing conversation. As you can see, she's well qualified. Tell us how we can find you and any classes or anything that you have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on YouTube at Tantrika McKenna, as well as Instagram. And both of those places, Instagram's more of kind of quick tips and shares, more of wherever you are, quick, easy embodiment tools. And on the YouTube, I share yoga classes from long to short, from Kundalini specific to a range of different yogas. So definitely check out there. And you can also find me on my website. It's mckennaburgess.com. And through there, you'll see my events coming up from in person to online. I'm starting to move to more online work. So, looking to start to share some womb clearing ceremonies online soon, and different embodiment journeys. And I'm going to be dropping a 6-week embodiment course soon. So, definitely be on the lookout for that as well. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me one on one through my website or Instagram, is the best places.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, McKenna. It's been a true honor to speak with another Tantrika, a shaman out there doing this work and helping people to reconnect with themselves on an intimate level. So that is it, guys. As you well know, I will have all of this information down in the description. So make sure you go follow my girl. And that is it, guys, until the next episode. Peace.
Thank you so much. Bye.